了，我查你没说啥。
엄청 가려고 이게 가렸다도 럼부터나 기계 직성성단 만남 찍고래 카바나 시고래 나 고민도 집안은 싫어
로저 봐 이 단한테 Zhi Lam Drä 때마 한 양자직 로로는 쇼더 주인이 Deutsch.
So we're reading the opening prayers like in the morning, page 3 in English. Homage to glorious Samantha Bhadram. The true nature of things is naturally free of conceptual projections. It does not exist, since even the victorious ones do not see it, yet neither is it non-existent, as it is the ground of all samsara and nirvana. There is no contradiction here, for it lies beyond the realm of expression. May all realize this great perfection, the true nature of the ground. In essence, it is empty, hence free from the limitations of permanence. By nature, it is clear and free from the limitations of nihilism. Its capacity is unobstructed. It is the ground of manifold emanations. It is divided into three, yet in truth there are no such differentiations. May all realize this great perfection, the true nature of the ground. Inconceivable and free of all superimposition, one-sided fixation on things being either existent or non-existent, completely dissolves. The full import of this turns back even the tongue of the victors. Without beginning, middle, or end, it is a great expanse of deep clarity. May all realize this great perfection, the true nature of the ground. Its essence is pristine, unoriginated, and primordially pure. Whatever manifests is the expression of this unconditioned, spontaneous presence. Without perceiving them as other, realizing the great unity of awareness emptiness, one's understanding of the ground will reach a point of culmination. May there be no deviations and mistakes concerning this key point of the path. Pure from the beginning, even the term view does not exist. Aware of the original state, the sheath of meditation falls away. There are no reference points, hence no need to restrain one's conduct. In the spontaneously present nature, this state of naked simplicity, may there be no deviations and mistakes concerning this key point of the path. not falling into partiality towards positive thoughts or negative ones, and without giving free rein to a state of indifferent neutrality. Manifestation and liberation and expanse unrestricted, unbridled, and spontaneously free. Understanding that the nature is inherently devoid of needing to accept and reject, may there be no deviations and mistakes concerning this key point of the path. Like space, awareness is the universal ground and starting point. Manifest ground, spontaneously present, yet vanishing like clouds in the sky. The mind radiates out, projecting outwards and then returning within, to the youthful waste body's inner space, possessing 6 unique characteristics. May all seize the throne of this majestic fruition. From the very beginning, awareness itself is a Mantabhadra. Within it, all hoping for attainments dissolves into the sphere of reality, the true character of the great perfection beyond intentional effort. The sphere of reality and awareness, the inner space of Samantabhadri, may all seize the throne of this majestic fruition. Utterly non-abiding, the nature of the great middle way, all-embracing and spontaneously vast, the state of Mahamudra, freed from limitations, wide open, a key point of the great perfection, the virtues of the levels and paths fundamentally complete, spontaneously present, inner space, may all seize the throne of this majestic fruition. So now we come to a different prayer, also in the book, and this also is a prayer that I'm reading like a daily prayer, and because it's very profound also, Lama Tsering really wanted me to teach on that. It's very profound. It comes from Chi Mipam. But then the way I'm explaining it is more like a person who doesn't have any teeth but who is trying to eat food. So this is similar to my commentary. But anyways, we have those Kempos as a witness here, and so I will share with you, my Dhamma friends, to the best of my abilities.
다 공탕치에서 공 중족성 그 민지 에 마송을 들이 공을 로마 내서 링바드요 어떤 데가도 다 지향의 중족 마송은 중족 내시에 차가 야송 들이 거기 중족이 중족 강미미 무사미라 시에지 버서그니 화창파를 송스티사 때 말이 세 말이 들이 거기 중족성을 거기 탑게 말이 대로에 개발은 뭐 때문에 그때 말이 내리들 인답도 그래. 소설 내 편들이지. 그러니까 가시시 되지. 마시가 유를 뒤지 정근을 놓아야 돼. 내가 이거 좀 가야 요망에 마시는 거 어차야 콜로 봐야지. 내가 지장 그냥 셰셰고요. 그래서 딱 되고 뭐나 가지고 와래. 그냥 같은 강시시에 되지. 좋아하나? 인생반하면 저거를 망발하는데 럽정치는데 동탐지 Dzogchen 소설이 니나는 은인도 요래 Garchen 머리 때 그런데 뭐라면 되냐라고 저도 갔다 온 거예요. 라마천 어서 잡아라. 대회 정하게 쇼이 힌트.
So actually, even though I'm teaching all over the place, actually I don't have much learning or any great qualities, and I always mention that in the beginning, as you have noticed. But that's important to mention because if I really am confident on something, and I have really decided on that, then I'm also saying that. Then I'm saying I'm sure about that. I really am confident about that. But if I'm not so sure, if I have some doubts about it, then I'm telling you, ask the scholars, ask the Khenpos, ask some other lamas. And I really want to make that clear, what I'm clear about, what I'm not clear about. And the reason is because the Dharma that I'm sharing is so precious. And nowadays, you can actually receive instructions from other masters too. So you can ask Khenpos and lamas questions about that so that you can really understand the essence. And that's important because those teachings are really extremely precious. There's one story from a long time ago. That was in the time of Dzogchen Rinpoche. He had a lot of disciples, and his disciples one time requested him to teach on the Bodhicharyavatara text. But Patrul Rinpoche was too tired, and he said that I'm not going to teach you Bodhicharyavatara. So then he had one disciple there who was not very smart. So then the disciple said, okay, then if you don't want to teach it, I will teach it. So then he stood up there teaching the Bodhicharyavatara, and he was saying all kinds of senseless things, making really huge mistakes. And Patrul Rinpoche was listening, and he just couldn't bear listening to him anymore. And he kept saying, no, this is not how it is. That's wrong, that's wrong. And finally, he chased him off the stage. And he said, no, let me teach it. I can do that better. So actually, maybe that was just a skillful means to make him teach, because first he didn't want to teach. So anyways, in a similar way, no, maybe I'm like a fool who's sitting here teaching, and maybe somebody will chase me away and also help me with that. But anyways, I'm sharing with you whatever I know to the best of my abilities. And whatever I do not know, I will tell you, and then you can ask questions to the Khenpos. So I really do not have much learning, and I really do not have many great qualities. But also what I don't have is embarrassment. So I'm just here talking anyways. Then just make sure that you ask questions to the Khenpos to make sure that you really understand it. And so the next prayer that we are dealing with here, which actually starts on page 29, that Dzogchen prayer is extremely important actually, because in this prayer, the entire meaning of Dzogchen actually is contained. So it is very important prayer that I'm also reading like a daily prayer. And that because of its importance, that's why Lama Tsering, he really insisted that I'm teaching this prayer.
Jabardo Potem Zhi Lam Drä Yemi Petona Berto Zhi Lam Dangchi Sawa Joso. And subject to the direction safe, that's hope. 등원이 소견 참제 등원이 논라들이 두섬지 사제 사제 뒤에들 두섬 뒤미데 대참지 나나 사지 장매바 탐치기 통남지인의 이시 적대봐 강을 되는데 자비 양을 등소 시진양의 제마 탐지가 두섬 뒤미 마이스서 게다 시지가면 자비 양 신경하자 속으로에 대나기 사지 적 사지 탐진도요에 기술성고요에 자발이 좋은 이 청제점 잠발이 좋은 축구라 성나야들이 수만으로 성나요 공부에 반영도 되게 자발 양대다 무슨 것이 초콜이야 소지 한번 대리지 송대치는 수남 신보 사제 고방 탑탑아 빠르지는 수남을 고요에 대리 용으로 되는 내가 나왔다 뜻을 추정 걸었더니 고르타바 빠오지 사제 탐체들이 너는 sep지 동세바로 탕치야메 사제 탐체는 잡이한테 빠오리서 너네들이 sep지 마제 받을 지금 고르타바 때다 군도군이 때다 son고요래 동당군이 때는 가래들 sep지 좀 본들 고요래 sep지 탐체 디스트릭 뭐 니모를 잡아요래 천상화 나마존은 냠반이 지금 삶이 동안 현재적으로 그런 셈 나타다 삶이 between 덴방 통화 대상 냠대요에서 가려고 사진관을 빨리 찍지 말아서 서로 송송이 사지랑 그 셈을 요리 때도 동안 하람라고요 사례.
So the text begins on page 28, the self-radiance of indestructible awareness and emptiness and aspiration towards the meaning of the indivisible ground, path, and fruition of the great perfection Manjushri by Mipam Rinpoche. And then it says, you embody the wisdom of all the bliss-gone Buddhas and their heirs throughout the 10 directions and 4 times, and keep the way of non-duality. So these 10 directions and 4 times. So you have all the Buddhas of the 4 cardinal, 4 intermediate, upper and lower directions, and then the 4 times is these 3 times, and the 4th time is timelessness. So all of these Buddhas, the essence of all these Buddhas, omniscient wisdom mind, is Manjushri. Also in the Yamantaka practice, it says when we develop this firm confidence of being the deity, it says that I am Manjushri Yamantaka. The 3 times, timelessness are my time. And so within one Buddha, all the Buddhas are complete. Then it says, ever youthful Manjushri, gentle splendor, the state of perfect equality, maybe spontaneously perfect the real meaning of non-action. So ever youthful Manjushri, actually just if I wanted to explain just that word, his name, Manjushri's name, the youthful one could actually spend a long time just on that. But just to summarize the qualities of this name, it is said that by only hearing his name is an inconceivable virtue. Hearing his name, one will attain the state of Buddhahood. And hearing his name is like a glory, or here it says a gentle splendor. And splendor here means merit. So it is an inconceivable merit to hear his name. And youthful, ever youthful, means that in all times, now, in the past, in the future, he turns the wheel of Dharma. That is, now he's like a hero, tirelessly. Tirelessly, he acts for the benefit of sentient beings. So he is like the hero Manjushri. amongst all the Buddhas, he is the courageous one. So on the relative level, he turns the wheel of Dharma for as long as sentient beings exist. On the ultimate level, he himself is our own Buddha nature. He is the Buddha nature of all sentient beings. And that is also the meaning here of the state of perfect equality. And then to realize the meaning of non-action is to see that, to see the truth that he himself is within one's own mind. Actually, in the Mahamudra teachings, it says, homage to glorious co-emergence. That's the opening of the Ganges Mahamudra prayer. And the meaning of that actually is the same as these words here. And so the meaning is that ultimately, Manjushri, or the nature of the Buddha is within one's own mind, or is one's own mind.
돈담들랑 그 디스트릭트 보통 오직바 이 마토버 갑라타 타마마인데 야마니 사미 동라 hinjata 봐서 다 로데 사미 동세 또는 야마냥 가까이요 말이 사요 나고 때로서
So to spontaneously perfect the real meaning of non-action is when you realize that the nature of your mind that transcends the intellect and that transcends all deliberate effort, when you realize that mind is Manjushri.
가다 송 생포 저리 다 되어 선조는 뒤다 와서동 니디미 버려 와서동 될 선조 송도 딜 선조 대처 그런 선조 때 가다 선조니 동도 송스니 잡이 영상 쇼크 접대요 선조들 잡이 영상 이미 받아 오래서 선조 접대나 삼미 돌아 선조 접적 송도 삼미들 노데 삼미 로데 소들이 그 갖다 영양도 시켜요. 로데 사미들은 접자도 심해봐. 삶해봐. 니매봐. 너는 니매한테를 삶해봐. 동들아.
The other day, before we mentioned the primordial purity, which is the basis of one's mind, and then the spontaneous presence, which is the clear and empty awareness. And when one realizes this spontaneous presence, primordial purity, then that itself is the presence of Manjushri, naturally. So it is indivisible, oneself is indivisible from his nature. And so the real meaning of non-action is that there is no duality between one who engages in action and an action to be engaged in. So non-duality is the meaning of non-action.
Malariba, Nisave, Paton, or Tavan Church of Terasa, Library.
And so Milarepa had said, when you realize the meaning of non-duality, then that is the view. It is the supreme view.
Dumengo party lamala nyami chukor tawe moje dumengo bodere kondu zangbori ta napka tawe chukor musideni zukora chukor napka tawe chukor pe yaore mare pe sombare yang de chukor se wa de napka pe dumengo bodere nang sangut nelo teta ka yaore teta lam senne yore Dumengo party lamalas, Tataran Lamati, the Lamati Cote, Chuko Millet, some territory, longer Chukatamachu, Dimbani, song longer, talk the Chuko, Lama Sentan, Kundazan was Sentan, Jambi Young, the symbol, Chebar Milati, or Taylor Lamati, Chukoli Hakosona. There is three thousand Rabjam Drime party Lamala, Yami, Chukarta, Meshu, Jet, Lamata Saji, Yemi Bahako, they Lama Saji, which into Shizon. Lama Saji is a Shibandi, the Dzogchen Tachimbo, they Jokori, Flapati, Garden, Yontin Saji, Yana, Garden Saji, Chevari, the Talasong, they were the Dumengo Lamata Tatati. Tang Saji, Lamasen, Lamatanashi Saji, and Chit of another last one. This is what they so by. The Tamki, Sekakan, don't put the pattern and back with Congress and back on it. Tatari, you deem it, I told you, that's the woman's song. Really, Jimba was I didn't know you, did not young ship.
So then next it says, with the devotion of viewing the primordial protector and glorious guru. So this primordial protector, that is Samantabhadra, and his nature is space, and the Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya is like space. We mentioned that again and again. Milarepa also had said that the outer space is the Dharmakaya, like the Dharmakaya. And that is an example of the primordial natural state of one's own mind. And then where is that now? It is the Guru's mind. We can find it in the Guru's mind. So the primordial protector and the glorious Guru. So the Guru's form is the Nirmanakaya, a human being. His speech is the Sambhogakaya. His speech is the teachings of the Holy Dharma, the twofold truth. And from the twofold truth, the speech arises the Sambhogakaya. And his mind is the Dharmakaya. So the Guru's mind, Samantabhadra's mind, Manjushri's mind are exactly the same. There is no difference. So when you realize the Guru as the Dharmakaya, then the Guru's blessings will enter your mind. So as the enlightened body of truth, the Dharmakaya of perfect equality. So when you realize that the Guru is indivisible from the Buddha, you will see the Guru as the actual Buddha. And that's actually considered as very important in especially the Dzogchen teachings, where it says that even though the Guru's qualities equal the Buddha's qualities, the Guru's kindness is even greater than the Buddha's kindness to us. Or also Lord Chigden Sumgön had said, I am a yogin who has realized the Guru's mind, the Buddha's mind, and my own mind as one. So actually, even though those words are all separate, they all speak about the same thing. And that is when you realize the view of non-duality as you also learned in the Madhyamaka teachings just before, then you always come back to that same place. We are only talking about the nature of the mind.
Lama chukar hakuna tawa ngojini ta ho deno o te lama te sam ngi tsukore dena te tawe de chino te lama ta si yemi chana de ngune lama sa ta rang ye lama si yemi china to yu gong bu sana mna po te le te ri pa sa wang de te ta wang ko ko ne wang ye ko wang ji ma ka ta wang sa ha wang de ko wang je yo wang ji ba se te ta ji ka ni Gongjo this young, oh, Talamataran Saji, no, Tawas Tora, Tawas, Nidimi Patawa, Rapat, Yishit, Mensa Watas, don't Yishi Star of this a little. Oh, Yene, you were Tomchi Shishad, for the this report along top. Tarpa Hakwas or something, Repasar, you want to see Topaso, one thought of what the Repasarity, Repacadu motion at the Repasaran Topare.
So then it says, may the inspiration of the ultimate lineage be transferred into our hearts, and may we gain the great empowerment of the expression of awareness. So when you understand the Guru as the Dharmakaya, you have recognized the view, and then you need to abide within that view. When you abide within that view, then you will recognize that this state itself, that is the actual Guru. And when you then merge your own mind with the Guru's mind in this way, then the actual blessings of the Guru will enter you. So regarding this empowerment of the expression of awareness, or the Rigbet Salvang, actually in some ways we always receive it when we receive an empowerment of the Vajrayana. All empowerments, most empowerments consist of 4 levels, and the 4th level, the 4th empowerment, we are instructed to meditate and look at our mind and see that our own mind, the Guru's mind and the Buddha's mind are all one. So that is the view, the freedom from duality. So we call it Rigpa, or this awareness, and we call it primordial wisdom and so on. But maybe the easiest way to understand it, although it all means the same, we're talking about the same thing, the easiest term that describes what we're trying to say is really maybe primordial wisdom. Because primordial, because it has been there since beginningless times, and wisdom because it knows everything, the nature of samsara and nirvana. And when you know that, when you really understand and have seen your true awareness, the nature of your awareness, then you have actually attained this great empowerment of the expression of awareness, or the Rigbet Salvang. And that's really the ultimate empowerment. It is to recognize the nature, the true nature of your awareness, or of Rigpa.
Rupatayo, Kitabashos, Yin is a story of Rupata, one which he was all mathematics. Oh, silly thought that Rupata, the Patima Turbo, your marriage, said the thing to walk Toma, your Tama about the Cardina, you said me about Yin and Nature, talk to where your marriage. There are such things you can choose with our mother, same with our two. There's several to Yerin is a story to a self part of the Kiam and Langsor Dagori. Several Gadi. Oh, that Gadi, this in Chiamiva, Matobakan, and Nashita. Nashiti, Gadi, you are a Shija money. 매주요 말들 뭐 마시 바꿔도 남지 이제 마파라도 정말이 네 예내에서 저외도 바당 왕구 제발 소리만 드시는데 얘는 왕구 남병 다 마땅 정도 이제 샘도 우리 참아를 요랬어 참아지 샘도 요랬어 뭐시 마시마도 라비 뭐래 되잖아 예내에서 저외도 바당 왕구 제발 소리만 드시는
then primordially present and thus not forged through exertion. So it is, so the natural state of your mind is, Rigpa awareness is primordially present. It is your natural state. So therefore, it doesn't have to be forged through effort, like meditation, for example. It doesn't have to be fabricated. Buddha nature has always been there since beginningless time, and it will always be there continuously. So it is nothing that needs to be, in a way, created with effort. It's already there. It's just a question of recognizing or not recognizing it. In the Mahamudra teachings, for example, it says you should not inquire into the root or cut the root of phenomena, but rather cut the root of the mind. So do not inquire into outer phenomena, but look within. What is the root of the mind? It is always there. The mind is always there. It will always be there. It is always there throughout the 3 times, and it will never cease to be. But when we do not see it, when we do not realize it, we call it the consciousness or the dualistic consciousness. And even though we can't see it, it will never disappear. It will never die. It will always be here. And if we don't recognize it, as Marpa had said before, it is the dualistic consciousness. And then it does not depend on capacity or constitution. So everyone has it, no matter whom, whether capacity, like higher, middling, and lower capacity, or a human and animal. Anyone who has a mind has this nature. The only difference is some recognize it and some don't recognize it.
문제들 다 가사를 제발 쳐보여 이렇게 자를 가지고 정말 제발 샘도 우리들 주인들 요래서 대라들이 다리 이시 얘네 요배 예시 샘 가지기는 타만이 요리 타만이 요리 다다 요리 대샘대 대쪽으로 쳐도 좀 골로 빼서 도쳐보여 요래 이 가설이 노래 천나나 골 다시 요리 소설 요사리 소설 다시 예전에서 조회도 받았다. 왕구 제발 소라 못주셔서 왕구 제발 매 서다는 다시를 요래서 라베 이 마치바 센트상 이 책이 다음 방송을마도 내 책인이 용금 매시라 용걸 봐 하장 라가나 가래 삭신은 책이 때려봐. 这样没什么老的去了，这就我都要了。这里一去呢，呀，这叫马上我可要马上，我现在家里头这呢，让一个在查的，这了的做些个些呢，心理也呢，心理也呢让一个到大把这个，让一心理也呢参加就让一边了，让一的。 지는 거기 취탑지 지는 뭐 속이 좀 들 조화래서 최고들 때 하고들 남이나 직접 고 말했어 조화치 보셔야 돼 철저히 토마 대서 때 딱과 세는 데래요 되는 이들이 예니 되어도 다다 되리 슬라베 이마치 봐 센터 상들아 다 진짜 그냥 막상 야 땅에 따고 뭐도 진짜 하고 마서 랑상 랑생을 쳤다 짱 마삼 다 세도까지 있으라 동성 스데리고 대를 뜻에 유용고들 첫 대반은 사람을 설단하는 진짜 이거 말이야. 들고 서바지 고착을 다 들이시지 뭐. 안 저바지는 다 동과도 대성으로 다 뒤지 말이야. 사자지 뭐 싸치불 다 들이까 담배 받다 공고 통송 무성사들이 통능이야 들이 이 치지 대성으로 가는 거 얼마나 다 되게 꽹매를 나도 줄을 수 있어. 다 라웨이 마치바 셈서 뒤책니 떠오는 딘 받치고 이래. 하여 하여 다다다 요사리 터졌다. 뭐래 셈. 하적지보도 제가 보면 제가 하고는 영상 하고서 하고들 라버리지 이제我住就来老我因我让操的做来老我因生，这是那这个这是我让我是他来老我的，这里他就觉得这里，两这里就在靠我了的说，能做操的叫他还讲告诉我们，这是那这个这是稍微一嘛几个甚至上，那么敏感到他就接受。
So, for example, in the old days, we've had some, like in India and China and so on, different caste or social classes and so on. There are a lot of differences in like social status in general. But actually, we all have that same mind. And whoever it is, anyone has a mind, and that mind is always the same. So this primordial wisdom is the mind that has been there since beginningless times and that knows the nature of all. So this is something you should keep in mind, these words. So awareness has always been there since beginningless times. It has always been there. Right now it's here, and it will always be here. It can never cease to be. If you really understand that, these words, it's actually extremely beneficial. So don't look on the outer level. Look within your mind. If you understand these words, you will know how to look within your own mind. So it makes no difference who one is and how high one is. Whoever looks at the nature of one's mind can know it. And so then it says, let the gurus, as it is so simple without this mystery of the mind. So this is actually a very famous quote by Mipam, and these words we always actually mention also elsewhere, also in the context of Mahamudra teachings. Actually, it's very similar to this Ganges Mahamudra line where it says, without thinking of anything, look decisively at what lies beyond the intellect. So if you just trust in that, it is so easy to see, just trust in that and don't think of anything at all. Think of nothing. That's what I do. I don't think of anything at all. And then directly look at the mind as it is in that moment. Actually then an understanding arises naturally. Things become clear in a very natural way without having to create or fabricate it. So in the Dzogchen it says the primordial mind itself is by nature Buddha. That is its nature. And within it there is no phenomenon of samsara and nirvana that is not included within it. Everything is included within it. So it is the completion. Everything is complete within it. And therefore, there is no other higher path needed. So this is one way of explaining the term Dzogchen, or great completion itself. And just the name, the title itself, actually makes it very clear. So it is so simple without the mystery of the mind. So think of nothing at all, and look at the mind, and don't think I understand the view, maybe I don't understand it. Don't think too much about it. Don't conceptualize and wonder if you really understand it or not. Without worrying about that directly, without thinking anything, look at the mind right now and think nothing at all. And then there is something there that's there. There's a presence that's completely empty. And so that just needs to be habituated to for a longer time. And when you habituate to it, then it will become an experience of all pervasiveness, where it seems there is no outer and no inner. The mind becomes extremely joyful and happy. It is just that we don't believe it. What we call this obscuration is that we doubt in it. So we see it actually, but then we don't really believe it. We think that that can't be it. That's way too simple. And they say Mahamudra is something so profound and so precious. This can't be it. So actually, it is it. We see it, but the thing is that we cannot trust in it. We have a lot of doubts about it. So basically, we need to put these two statements together from the Mahamudra and then this line here. In the Mahamudra, where it says, without thinking anything, look decisively at what lies beyond the intellect. And then this line here, it is so simple, we doubt the mystery of this mind. So when these two statements meet together, actually, it's very powerful. Then you can really understand this is really how it probably is. So then be just, in a way, bold without doubting anything and just look at it directly. And right now, you might have an experience of really that is how it is. And this moment is extremely joyful, extremely peaceful and happy. And then just habituate to that. It is something that can be known at any time. It is very easy to know. It is very easy to recognize, but for example, in the three statements that strike the vital point, it says that first point is easy. So the first point, the first statement is that direct introduction to one's own awareness. That's rather easy, but what's more difficult are the second. So then the second of those three statements, not remaining in doubt and really deciding upon this nature, and then actually putting it into real practice, which is the third point, really the assurance that is founded on the liberation of thoughts. And that's very difficult. Actually, the third one is the most difficult. Although it's easy to recognize it, it's difficult to really gain this assurance, this certainty of liberating thoughts. And so then there's some people who understand the view, but for example, like myself, sometimes it's the case that I like to listen to the teachings of Lama, where I really find that the words are very profound, and I really like those words, or I like to read a book that is really profound. And then I like to meet this person again, or I like to read this book again and again. For example, I'm traveling around the world for the past 20 years, and there are some disciples of you. I see them wherever I go. Wherever I go, there you are. Actually, I'm always wondering, why are they doing that? Because actually, I'm always saying the same thing. There is no need to follow me around the whole world. So actually, this is also one way of seeing it, but then they still like to listen to what I have to say. That is actually still the better kind. Then there's another kind who has some doubts and they just don't believe anything. So they hear what we say, but then they think that this can't be true. I wonder if that's really true. It's probably not true. So these kind of doubts are the worst kind of doubts. The other ones, maybe they don't examine them too much, but that actually is like, even though they maybe think that there is more to get, although there isn't, like we mentioned the disciples before, that's still the better kind, because that really shows that their obscurations are somewhat lighter.
Then I mean, Rabjam Drime tablangu going to Bata, the young Rabjam Drime, Slap going to Ba, Shani Chacham Maso, Dal going to Ba, Drum the Mambo, the Menga, Chöd the Jabati, Roma, Muta, Tansek in Roma Palatini, something, something about set me ba. The little Lama move. Tiñan zona, jasa chayo mare. Lama ngaka lama tike Roma hinji yore songdo malari pe songari. Oh, lore winga dimbala, chinji lama meselans. Tukje tang devasi jinse ches. Teji hinji chewala, no dinji Roma meselans. Mugudan devasi jinse ches. Malari check the haja jiwo chimbo. Jonathan, Minga, top to what the Roman movies, Ramin Hingi, a toner, the really how got to your race. Tap Tamsin and Chot, they nothing unity. Lama Roman, so on the same to watch out all over. The something, the Roman Kia, Lama Tipper somehow the Pegumber. Roman simply Tamsin, some at semi down, the little child, half on the deep watch out your race. They were thought of going to you want to just not, you want to show the cover.
So there's different ways of recognizing the view or the nature of the mind. For example, we receive various Pith, various instructions or Pith instructions, whereby we are introduced to the nature of the mind. And then, for example, some recognize the nature of mind by receiving the blessings of the Guru. Just through the blessings of the Guru, they recognize the nature of the mind, even though nothing is said, no word is said. And then there's others who recognize it in a maybe more symbolic way and so on. There's all sorts of ways. But of these, the best way to recognize the nature of mind is through the blessings of the Guru. And that is, for that actually, two main factors have to come together. On the part of the disciple, a disciple which is a suitable vessel must have devotion and must have pure samaya. And pure samaya here means love, especially for the other disciples, not just the Guru, and also immeasurable, boundless love for all sentient beings, and then devotion to the Guru. And the Guru, on his part, must have great compassion for that disciple. And when these two come together, then with certainly the disciple will recognize the nature of the mind through the blessings received. also Milarepa had said that these are the most important qualities. He said that isn't there a Lama who possesses the lineage and the instructions on the knowledge on the scriptures and so forth. But what a Lama really must possess is actually compassion. That is more important than all of these other qualities. And he said that a suitable vessel disciple is one with devotion. So these words are really very significant. And so when these come together, devotion and compassion, then one can actually easily understand the nature of the mind, and that's the supreme method. And in this way, the guru's mind and the disciple's mind will merge due to the quality of love, basically. And so love is most important. And so now when we say that the disciple must have love, then the disciple should not have only love for the guru, but have a boundless love for all sentient beings. So when that is present, then the disciple will easily understand, and also that understanding will become steadfast or stable. Otherwise, if that element of love is lacking, that is missing, then even if one sees the view, one sees the nature of the mind, it's possible that one again later on becomes controlled by the afflictive emotions, in which case one loses the view again.
내가 저기 요래 강에 된 알사마리 강 문제도 남이 소마다고서 대민가 적시 소미 라마다고서 내가 적시 등상 중 알아니 자원이 야고도 랑카리 소미 소마다고서 그래지 나를 소미 용때 채다 니말 라마 민바도 이런 짓을 합대라 채버다 니바 톱로요 라마랑 따고 그렇지. 라마 용지서 손 도구도 따는 제 약사야지. 소소는 됐다지. 다다 로마 싸워 딱거지. 로마 싸워는데 로마 투조랑 따라랑 소미 용지까지 창구도 되네. 이 창화지는 이 때문에 라마 로마 따고는 땅이 로마를 매톡하고 야 로마 라마 따고는 다 등당 유모면 몇 라마하고 직강 통투고요 말 로카시노네 중마도 도구마도 대다랑 삼노래 한테 가리는 데문에 양심하나 받자고래 다다 저사요 그게 저 라비오리 때문에 라비오 말에 나는 그 따록대 나는 로마 책이라는 라비도 나는 라비 딱 그거지 라비 바타랑 야바나 조고거리 죽게서 아메 봐 야바나 조도요 말
There's one Pith instruction that I have for you. And that's just my own personal Pith instruction, actually, that's my own opinion. One is that now, in the old days, strictly speaking, it is said that the Lama should examine the disciple should examine the Lama. But actually, that's one instruction. But nowadays, I find that is really actually completely wrong. It doesn't work nowadays. What we should do nowadays is that if you're a disciple, then it's better if you, instead of examining a Lama, if you examine yourself. A disciple should examine the disciple himself. Am I really a qualified disciple or not? And the Lama too. A Lama should really look at himself. Then the Lama should rather ask, do I have the qualities of a Lama? So that's actually a better thing to do nowadays, and that's what I myself am doing. So actually, I myself am not even looking at what kind of disciple it is at all. I accept anyone as my disciple. And it's better if we look for ourselves, do I have the qualities or not? Because if you really follow the book, the instruction, if a Lama would really try to find the perfect disciple with all those qualities mentioned in the books, it would be impossible. He wouldn't find one good disciple in this entire world nowadays. And then also likewise, a disciple, if they really wanted to find a true master with all these qualities according to the book, because we see things with the eyes of affliction, we won't find one perfect Lama. And even if we think we have, just spend a few years with him, you will see only faults. So this is what happens. And so that is why I find it's better that we examine ourselves than others. And so about that, you should also again ask the Khenpos here. And I just repeatedly mentioned that because before we didn't have the Khenpos here, but now we have them here, so now it's an opportunity. So in any case, this is just how I practice. I examine myself, and I think it's better if everyone would do that. And that is because nowadays there is just so much affliction, and if I wouldn't examine myself, if I would go around examining others, then I probably would have to go to hell, because karma is infallible. And I don't want to go to hell. And so that's why I make sure that I have the qualities that I need. And so then I don't really care if the disciple is perfect or not perfect, or pure or impure. And basically whatever anyone wants from me, I just give it to them. Then it says elaboration and analysis. Elaboration and analysis are superfluities of thought, while seeking and cultivating serve only to exhaust. So all this elaboration and analysis, now we are interested in the nature of the mind, so we read a lot of books about it, and then we memorize the different qualities that arise on this bhumi or that bhumi, on this level and so on, and we have a whole enumeration of things, and we even read books about the nature of the mind, and we books that analyze that. But what we never do is actually analyze the nature of the mind. We never actually look at the nature of the mind. And in that way, actually, thoughts only increase more and more. So this is how it is for me, for example. I mentioned yesterday that there is this book that explains all of these deviations and mistakes that could happen in terms of the view. And when I'm reading this book, then all I'm reading is a lot of negative points about what could be possibly wrong, anything that could possibly be a mistake. So I'm only reading about mistakes and wrong things and what is not allowed and so on. So I very quickly grew tired of it, and I closed the book, and I thought that I would just close my eyes and cut through my thoughts directly with clear awareness. So that's what I did, and that's all I did, and I think that's probably the best advice I can give. So this seeking and cultivating serve only to exhaust. So there's all of these qualities of the Buddha, and we think that these are qualities that we need to somehow get from somewhere, accomplish them in some way. But actually that's not the case. It's already there in your mind. Your mind is like this diamond, and all the qualities are complete within it already. So it just it needs to ripen, but the qualities are within Buddha nature. So I feel that there is no benefit in counting and enumerating, listing all these qualities and knowing about all these things that will happen on that bhumi, on this stage. I think that's quite pointless, actually. Because these qualities will actually happen on their own. We don't actually have to develop them. As you progress along the path of practice, these are qualities that will naturally arise, so we don't have to worry about what will arise at some later point right now. Because when we do that, then our mind is constantly scattered on the outside, preoccupied with lists and numbers and intellectual information, when we actually should concentrate our mind and gather it all inside and actually practice. So I really believe that it is best to each and every day try to liberate as many thoughts and emotions as you can with awareness. I think that's the best path of practice.
정권바 설정 정어서 단 위에 세고 내려오는 단데 대사고 갖고 참도 주고지 단 참선 맞음세 가리시 대대대서 갖고 요래 내가 강리되나 정루를 받고 요래 사지 좀 되게 곰라를 매치라 야들 곧 짜네 하고 막서 세고 내려오들 점나 말이 로나 말이 때가리들 세다 디바처럼 뻔함 중반은 계산하세 어디 시도 계제 오늘 차가 뻔함 그 자티 하자 좀 송원이 남지 말아지 하자 르발이 송원이 말아 어때는 세도 하자 좀나 말은 로 마요 좀 때려지 때려 거야요 자티는 딸지 좀도 제나야 말을 참아 말을 가리라도 싸다 때려 차요 거리 생각하고 왕도等你朝王的当了第三届的，还讲别都切账了，唐先用过有的，就是我的别都这样的另外，别都这样另外用过有的， 대라지는 대상도 후루지 제가도 드리고라 후루지는 생라지 그래서 또 라지 나와 그 자꾸 뻔그 다다 집안에서 단지 과들라 빠텐도 말하는 양대체 와골로 담으라 어서 그냥 맞이세들 파야죠 이용고요 말이be.
And then it says, focusing and meditating are traps that merely bind. So that might seem a little bit strange and difficult to understand, and maybe even slightly irritating. So maybe you feel that, like, what are you actually trying to say? Sometimes you say practice with diligence, and then again you say don't practice with diligence, don't make any effort. So it's maybe difficult to understand, but what this means is that we need just the right moderation in between being too loose and being too tight. And there's the story that you maybe know of the Buddha when he taught one of his disciples meditation, and that disciple said that I just don't understand the nature of the mind. I don't know how to meditate. And if you tell me to relax, it doesn't work. If you tell me to focus, also it doesn't work. I don't know how to do it. And so then the Buddha asked him, so do you know how to play the guitar? And he said, actually very well. Then the Buddha said, so then if you string your guitar, what happens if you string them too loose? Would it work? And he said, no, it wouldn't produce any sound. And the Buddha said, what about if you would string it too tight, really tight? And he said that also won't work, won't produce a sound. So then the Buddha said, it's just like that with the mind. It shouldn't be too loose, it shouldn't be too tight. Not too relaxed, not too focused. So that is really what's meant with you should make an effort in practice, but then also you shouldn't overexert yourself. So this is how we see it from when the mind is in a more coarse state. And then when the mind comes into a more subtle state, then often is the case that we are getting tired of making too great of an effort. And what happens then when it gets more subtle is that this effort often then leads to hopes and expectations. So therefore, while it should be more tight in the beginning, it should be more loose later on, because this effort can also develop into hope. So therefore, the instruction then is relax a bit. And just let the mind be in its natural state, as it is naturally. Just like when you are stringing your guitar. So first we need to understand the mind from this coarse perspective. If we don't understand that, it will be difficult to really grasp what is meant here, because then you might just think, well, if I don't need to make an effort, then I might as well don't do anything at all, and I just let it be, and then you would end up never actually practicing.
성주바 낭리 주발 소서 성어지는 다시 깔리 카마들의 가득지 단들 가득지나 검잡감이 좋아 마가 네밤 좋아 마가서 아상을 좋아지는 하고서는 듣소 네바도 되는데 내가 감아가 버리지 가럽 잡아들이 강행을 때문에다 내고 제시도 내고서는 양대서 하고 요리 레서 버걸 내는 저 손에 내 손에 저대도 하고 그는 특성사 그래서 콩로로 서담낭로 제 우리 선이 속도 좀 가서 그런 거지 선로로 제 네밤 좋아하가지 된다고 말 그런 로로 제 공적법감이 대례양주와요 사이에 성우주바 남이 주바서这就那个时候别靠我的，上懂得着的呗。这样怕路原来一口着着，说是人用的了现在，说路现在这这样人民讲的这吧，有啥哩上天着，啥上天，什么主办人的主办说，这种干练没吧的，就说路着，这个让这干练的空了把这这着。
And then let such painful complexity cease within the mind. That means probably that when it gets more difficult, when you get a little tight, then you should release without rejecting or adopting or accepting. And so what that means is when you meditate, you should not try to accomplish some state of abiding, nor should you try to reject the movements of thoughts that arise. So if you just recognize those thoughts, it is sufficient. That's all you need to do. There is no need to reject them. Also, there is no need to tighten up your mind and think, I have to abide, I have to be single point, that I must not have thoughts. If you are tense like that, then especially in the beginning, that can happen, then meditation will not go well. So just abide in a natural state as it is, and if thoughts arise, just recognize them. So when you're, actually it is said that on the outer level, you should be more focused or tight, and on the inner level more relaxed or loose. So it means that the body should be especially straight, the spine, the back should be straight. That's the outer level. And on the inner level, the mind should be relaxed and not try to accomplish some kind of meditative state, and also not reject whatever arises. So just stay in a state of ease, in a relaxed state. So that is probably what this line here means. If you try to push yourself too hard to abide, it will only get worse. But on the other hand, if you get too relaxed, then you will fall asleep. So that's more my personal experience. So we need to find a good measure in between. But if we try to be too tight, then we encounter difficulties. But also we shouldn't be too loose. So that's my take on this again. And if you have any doubts about that, then again you should ask the Kempos here.
Donna, molto calé caio mai, calé caio loro. Te ne so di un rocha, ori. Tenda, sono mi per gonso. Lula di sono mi ba sono ci vade. Tati tutto non lang ci do calé ya te mai non ci duna di non lang ci do di so di yang gobjaji non lang ci yang 당연히지 남한주도 가서 쪽으로 가서 정모지네 밀리니 감라더니 설비라 송어메가 낭센 송어메가 로루지 내고 내 소주가 나오는 쪽으로 줘서
So in brief, when you meditate, you should not get tired of meditation. So I'm trying to be more relaxed, and what you really should achieve is a state of inner peace and just well-being. And now for this releasing this painful and complexity, it could also refer to the physical posture. We often speak about the 7-point posture of Vairocana that includes the cross-legged Vajra posture, for example. But for that, actually, for this 7-point posture, there is actually 2 kinds. There is one general 7-point posture for meditation, and then there is one that is for the practices of the channels, winds, and drops. But either way, what's most important is that you have a straight back, that your spine is straight, that your body is straight, and that your mind on the inner level is more relaxed. So the crucial point here really, the crucial point of letting painful complexity cease is to just stay in a relaxed state of mind that is at ease.
Some do tell and Thoma Kang Mays. It does with their own tongue, the tongues of Kang Toya, Yamari, Sadachable on the they shut me one of us. I took some other Tobaya Mays, some took sensible. Kind of top mother. Tick down maybe some Nakata with the top, they told us in my top by me. 냠들이 사족서만 토바이면 마토바이면 그냥 마토바도 토바는 거 좋이 그런 말에 마 그냥 마통 같은 통은 줘서 되려고서 그요에 대회 되게 책들을 다시 항상 가서 당나 우리가 요사에 선두들은 통화 그냥 마통 라버리죠 봐 그냥 메스 너는 통시발에 니스베비시 인생 잡아 셈때 하고는 된 통은 셈 나가는 이 차로 다시 이제 레서 오 다시 데리지 말이야 사지 거로 다시 루치고 끊는 뭐 통고 상통들이 라통고를 가시는 베세사 네 상통송에 상통마도 라까지 통거리지 투가고나 상통거리 된다고 그다음에 거기서 라고요 되지 그냥 마통 같은 통을 줘서 그래서 산두처럼 통은 그냥 매마테 마통하지 나지니 마통이 나지니 마통을 통을 줘래 그 탐신 통거래 납시 시는 보라 님이 반성거래 너는 특통한테 니님이 셈데 니님이 셈데는 통화하려고 하면 님은 나가라고 차라고 요래 그 대가면 태성직까지는 다 태성제야 요매 제르지 니비지도 다 제르지 다 돼서 양마 탐색념 사용 깍들이 형들이 설태성제 요래 제르지 탐색념 사용 되는 놓고 그래서 된다서 또 탐색념에 지향 맞더니 라마다 보마 바지 탐색념 사송스니 따와라 바치 요거를 며칠 전에 따와라 채송 드라마를 지더니 냠 드라마를 잘 들지 냠디지 쇼 냠디지 쇼들이 라마로마만 생각차 로마로마만 생각차 그래서 차 뭐라 다다다 로마로마가 탐색 가장 송구 지와디 다다 그냥 거야요 말이 얘는 멍 빠르지 지와 체랍네 체랍 다 붙이는 게와 차고 말이 같이 다다 출는 줄 빼가는 책도 이지 않으면 답이 죽어를 쇼를 일들 홈마 펜스 라마도 홈마 바로 답색 차지 다다야 때로 좀 뒤지지 되로 요거요래 네 깝다면 타톡돼요 이게 레저 파상도 되게 봐 이거 말이 상로 요래 용진의 용이 용진 지와래 내 깝지도 강해져서 요거래 강의 용화 참지 나한테 다 레드 담석이 좀 레스 얘는 다시 다 레드 줘 다시 아빠지 지금 나한테 또 담석이 남아서 뭐지 하면 담석 라 아시 송사에 지리가 나서 단다고 연구도 대학으로 속야 양자들이 라마라 요시 있을 때 봐고 샤와지 되라는 게 남이 속야 시요 대마시라고 말 처음 보고 처음 안 보고 말라마 처음 보고 아제 되더니 하지 네 라마 교신이 돼야 말대 그래서 다음 사바다 이제 그 짓을 거요 소설들이 담서 전혀 손을 강했는데고 요 이제 강이요 야 하마들이 많이 요래
So then it says, beyond thought and expression, there is nothing that is seen. So we speak about seeing the nature of mind, when actually there is nothing actually to be seen when we see Mahamudra. Also in the Heart Sutra, for example, it says, to the bodhisattvas do not obtain, they do not get anything. There's nothing that they attain, there's no attainment. But it's not that they attain nothing, because what they do attain is the space-like nature of the mind that cannot be attained. So it says that although to bodhisattvas there is no attainment, it's not that there is no attainment, because finding what is not to be attained is the supreme attainment. And so also Milarepa had said something similar. He said that when you see what cannot be seen, that's the supreme seeing. So actually, maybe these words clarify that line here too. So in terms of seeing, what that really means is to experience non-dual primordial wisdom, to know that the mind is non-dual, that it is like space. So for beginning practitioners, we often think that there must be something else. There are these Buddha forms. I can see Samantabhadra, or I see the deity. For example, this term vipassana in Tibetan, it means langtong, which literally means seeing the divine or seeing the deity, seeing a god. So then one might think, so if I practice that, I will see a god, I will see a deity. So have you seen a deity? We have probably not seen the deity. So then we wonder, but when am I going to see the deity? Maybe one could say that when you practice in the Dzogchen tradition, the practice of Togal, of direct crossing, then you might see the deity. But now, not to see nothing is the supreme seeing. And to see nothing is to see that self and other do not exist. So you see no self and other, nothing to be seen. That's the supreme seeing. And that is, when you see that, then the dualistic consciousness is transferred into the nature of primordial wisdom, and you see non-duality. Then there is no more dualistic grasping in your mind. So the mind becomes like space. And if we don't understand that, we can fall into this demon of self-deceit, and we doubt. Actually, it is said that if in previous lives our samayas have been damaged, then at this time when we meditate, then doubts will arise about that. And here we should recognize that this is because I have probably damaged my samaya in previous lives. So sometimes people encounter some obstacles in their meditation practice when it comes to recognizing the view. For example, they develop a lot of doubts, or they have all kinds of vision and experiences, and then they believe in them and they follow them, and they become carried away by all these experiences. So these are those hindrances that come from impure samaya from previous lives. It comes from causing difficulties and disharmony between disciples or between guru and disciple and so on. So therefore, that's really important to be very careful with our samayas, especially towards other disciples, disciples between disciples. Because if we damage our samayas, the results is something that we cannot see right now, but in the future, in future lifetimes, when we meet the Dharma again, then we will encounter hindrances. For example, there is some who encounter the Dharma, they enter the Dharma, but they run into difficulties because they have damaged their samayas in previous lives, either between disciples or between the gurus. So that is it is called the result that corresponds to the cause. And still, however, this is just temporary too. When that karma comes to an end, then ultimately there is no harm, because eventually that karma will also exhaust itself. And then still there are the qualities of Dharma practice, and those qualities are always greater, of course. But temporarily one might encounter some difficulties. So when that happens, then you should think that this must be because I have broken a samaya in previous lives. This karma will come to an end, but I have to purify it, I have to confess it. So then you make an effort to develop faith and devotion to the Guru again, or perform confession and purification and so on. So then you will know how to make an effort in practice. If not, then often, sometimes it also happens that there is a dispute between, for example, a guru and a disciple, and then they part ways and they say, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. And that is not very good. Actually, the spiritual teacher will still love their disciple and always care for them. But now on our own part, it is just important that we make sure that we guard our samayas and keep them pure, because otherwise in future lives or in future lives, that is what leads to obstacles. So when we encounter obstacles in meditation practice, especially in terms of the view and doubts arise and so on, then that has often to do with like damaged samayas from previous lives.
너희들 라sem 코타 줘봐 삼미송송 코타 줘봐도 계속 써 라sem 코타 줘봐도 타 줘봐도 다 하자 가르치 머리 때문에 타 줘더니 그렇게 나 따와를 제손매 랍터그리 저 따와를 제손 따와서 매 랍터그리 그 가디 연구들이 따디 소소라는 게 양성 연구를 맞아 저게 인게 다 줬다 다 주도 맞추고 그래야 자니 이거 말이 예 마산 주메 그 타주바지 로마 탐지를 좋아하는 있는 연구도 있냐면 나 이제 롱반한 도어들이 남바 많이 네 남바 데벨롭이 가오요 와대 고 생고는 애들이 데벨 망보로들이 부모지 독수 남바 많이 내가 좌트도 좌트 다시 탭타마 로들이 곰자로만 보셔도 이 따와시 봐도 사람 다 죽을라도 그 곰자 대지니 맞지 곰자 되는 강한 랍시가 보다 대리 sem 랍도 고치와나지 차송아지 대인줄 아무도 없어 다 라비지 않마가서 나오는데 다른 것이 즉차와지 모든 라마양이요 말이야 괜찮아요 남바 계시양 말에 대장냐 로르들이 다 지양마 장고구나 대서 다 대서 오는 말에 서적죠 다 세상에 좋가래도 직접 대독들라요 말 세계 세상에 된다고 차오네 뒤에들이 다 갔다는지 직진 수고서는 이제 점이 자사시와 당니 이제 점이 자사대 강 자사래 코데인지 잡고나기 자 코데인지라 그래도 가면 오 코데인지랑 세도 못 찍과 하고 찍과리 오 찍과리야 상마 말이야서 찍으면 다 좋은 거래 대적인 냠용 네 그냥 초도 받지 라는 게 되게 라면 먹었다 라는 게 되게 다나는 또 다나는 게 연구를 그래서 보모들 하다 다나는부터 상하 대단들로 당문에 제도데 양치 친구도 제도 생산하더니 서받고 차서 그래 다한테 다들로 있는가 저한테 이마도 대라고 차서 때 그랬어요 다 들어가는 데지 요 말이 생각해서 모두 지도 다음에 대레도 다제 두고도 베테도 대랑생 코타 주고 삼 정도 삼고 가르려고 콘디 이지 다랑생 저거는 조가지 동데 다 조가지 다 콘디 이랑생 샤다게 취송 대로 하고 그래 뭐래요 하고 콘디 하고 대로 자꾸 그래 그래서 조들 지책들이 랍타고는 권대니와 라지 찍으러도 조 보이는 조화지 최고는 다들 남신가 다고 말에 최고 독심은 뒤들이 로마랑 공부 명령들이 연구를 에 참선을 하면 먹을지는 연구요 양 심기는 이게 세배가 양상한테 끼나 우리 연구를 대참조에 되니 먹으라 이게 다낭 대에서는 되다 자자자 영토고요 되면 곰ጭ고 저다 대참도 매들도 더 갖고 와래 이렇게 말도 같이 보려면 다야요 말에 문이 잘지도 하고 뭐는 말도 광한 거 하고 그래 밑에 들어도 와서 알지까지 오요 말에 네 그래 그래서 맡으면 다들 먹을다 이게 생기는 이게 다 맡으면 때 같이 보래 나도 같이 보래지 나도 같이 보래 대외 깔이 먹고 자고라 우리 마도 같이 보면 호도도 같이 보려고요 말 같이 할때 누가는 타투와 또 먹고 타투와 대선미 누구는 소문에 니지도 대선미.
Then it says this is the profound point for the mind to ascertain. So first this term to ascertain, and that's of crucial importance, that we ascertain, that we really decide upon it without any doubts. So then when someone asks you, are you completely sure about the nature of mind, then you could say, I have no doubt about it whatsoever. I have no doubt about the view, the nature of the mind. And when will that happen? that's actually something you can just see for yourself by looking at your own experience. No one will be able to tell you that. No one will be able to tell you whether or not you have recognized the view or the nature of your mind, because actually it is inexpressible. It is beyond words and thoughts. One time, actually, I met a girl from England, and she was actually not a Buddhist, but she said that she just likes to read Buddhist books, especially about the nature of mind, but she's not a Buddhist. And she said that when after having read various books about meditation and the nature of the mind, one day she was meditating, and in that moment, there was a moment where she just knew that this is it. This is the nature of the mind, and she didn't know how to express that in words, but the feeling was like a door was opening, something was lifting, and she knew that this is it. This is that nature of the mind. And I was quite amazed by this woman, actually, because she was not even a Buddhist. She didn't have a guru or a lama who told her anything, who taught her anything. So that really shows that she already had trained and has great merit from previous lives, almost like an instantaneous realizer. She had no spiritual teacher at all. She just was reading some books. But she became completely free of doubts. She just couldn't really put it in words, but she had clearly no doubts. Also the other day, we mentioned Jigten Sumgön. He mentioned that kingdom of the unchanging ground, and that is it. That is that kingdom. When you see it, when you know it, you become like the king of samsara and nirvana. Then there is no more hope and no more fear. Then you know that all of samsara and nirvana is your own mind. And actually, you don't even think anymore, all phenomena are my mind or are not my mind. There is no thought about it whatsoever. You just know. And that is the best experience, actually. And so it arises due to, when we give rise to devotion, to belief, of faith, and especially a pure perception. That's also very important. Like this girl really had a pure perception. She really liked the Vajrayana, for example, and she liked to learn about the nature of mind, and she said that when she reads those books, she just feels very happy. And basically all she was really asking me was, what is that experience that I had? And because she couldn't put it into words, but all I really could tell her at this point is that this is it. You are right. She had already decided it, and I just basically confirmed that. So then it says, this is the profound point. So what is the profound point? The profound point is Dzogchen. And Dzog means complete. That is, all phenomena of samsara and nirvana are complete within your own mind. That is it. There's nothing else that is necessary. Everything is encompassed by your own mind. And when you know your mind, you know all of samsara and nirvana. And then that's Dzog in Dzogchen. Chen means great. And that is the greatest path. Once you have found it, there is no need to look for any other path. From your personal perspective now, how to resolve this profound point, basically there is 3 qualities that you need. Sometimes we see it when devotion arises. Sometimes we see it when great compassion for beings arises. And sometimes when there is a pure perception. When these are developed, these qualities arise, then without any doubt you will see the nature of mind. Otherwise, if you only focus on meditation and you neglect devotion and love and a pure perception, if you just meditate, it will be very difficult to clear away doubts. So we have to make an effort. For example, I, like myself, actually you don't know much about me. I'm actually a very sinful person. And that is really true. I have done all the bad things you can imagine. Just name them. I have probably done them. There's probably no one more sinful than myself. So I'm saying that because that is why I have to make a really great effort. So now I'm not saying that you have done a lot of wrong things. I'm just saying that no, that is why I would like to make a great effort in the practice. So in any case, ultimately, the ultimate obscuration is our delusion, our ignorance. And that is in place because there are doubts. And in the Chöd practice, for example, this is referred to as the Mara, or the demon of self-conceit. We doubt our true nature. And then maybe realize this nature so hard to point to and make plain. So this nature cannot be expressed or pointed at through illustrations or through words. It is only something that you can know for yourself. So with that, we stop the teachings for today.
Slide 18. Red book. The white puppy, extra. Gütige Bewegung löse Freunde alle Lebewesen, höchste des Shakya, 17 Penta, Siddha, Everdigate Lopa und Naropa, Marpa, Minare, Gambopa und Jiktin Sungu und deren Nachfolger möge alle erwestende Übertragungslehne, alle und glückliche Namen zu hören oder zu Namen zu denken und selige Tode aufwendet und bestärke und Sterbelebens Energie gewährt. Möge der erhabene Beschützer Buddha Amitabha Herr und Glücke gewähren, durch die Schulung der vollkommen reine Disziplin ist dein Hörner makelose, deine Erschlüsse zu haben. Du hast das reine Gewürzen, die Mahamuda, die ursprüngliche Natur auch Luft, niemand gibt niemals so in diese Lehre, möge sie
So wie jeden Abend werden wir jetzt Chöd praktizieren. So we practice now Chöd. Und als Erinnerung, morgen Nachmittag um 3 gibt es die Yamantaka Dzog Puja. Wenn ihr die lange Sadhana habt, dann bringt sie bitte mit. Tomorrow we have in the afternoon, at 3 o'clock, 3 p.m., the Yamantaka Dzog Puja. Thank you very much.